This is Emory Moorhead from the 1985 Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears. And welcome to Sal's Sports Circus.
There's your long ball. Stretch, stretch, stretch. You can put it on the board. Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal here with Long Beach Lenny. Today's show is brought to you by Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind for less than $1 a day. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, and even contracts given to you that you just don't understand, plus a whole lot more. For less than $1 a day, give the folks at Legal Shield a call right now, 213-245-1305. They can help you right now. 213-245-1305, Legal Shield, 213-245-1305, or visit them at nocourt.us and tell them the circus sent you. Also, a big welcome to everybody listening in on iHeartRadio and our NBC Sports affiliates from coast to coast. What do you got for us today, Lenny?
I've got to tell you, Sal, we've got a dilemma. We've got a discussion. And I'm talking about this. Everybody loves watching, let's say, Little League games. That is the purest portion and viewing entertainment of sports. There's no money involved. There's no gambling really involved.
How do you know?
But who's involved the most with this, Sal? That's the parents. The parents are involved. The parents cheer. The parents give snacks at halftime or afterwards. But what about those parents that just go crazy, Sal? You're sitting, it could be a parent, it could be an uncle, it could be anybody that's connected to this kid, and they're just going crazy. You know what I'm talking about. That person, Sal.
Well, see, I'm that guy, and I don't even have a kid on the field because I want to see those kids hustling no matter what. And so here's this guy that doesn't even have a dog in the fight. That would be me. I just show up at the park and start yelling at the kids, saying, "Come on, let's go, Billy, run!" Right? That's me.
No, that is you, and that you're in the stands. There's all them going. That's my little Jimmy over there. That's my Steven over there. And all of a sudden, you're the one saying, "Excuse me, what was that kid's name over there?" Steven. Come on, Steven, you dead weight. You wail on the field. Get moving.
That's my little grandson, Tucker, running down to first base. Come on, Tucker, move it. That's me, man, like a drill sergeant coming out of nowhere. That's the idea.
The thing that's bad about that, and maybe not just yelling, but it's just the physical altercations that sometimes happen. I recently seen one of these over at a football game once, and here's the fans just going crazy. They're on the same team, and what I find out after I'm helping to break up this melee and fist brawling. By the way, Sal, it started off with two women starting a slap fight in the stands. Then it starts going
nice.
crazy.
It was a cat fight, huh?
And most likely with the men or the husbands cheering them on. Oh, and then when one starts losing, they jump in. But the hilarity of it was that all of the kids on the field stop watching football or stop playing, and they go over there and they're watching the fight in the stands. Come on. Starting with the
two moms.
Cat fight.
Let it go.
Then it went directly into the men just brawling and boxing after that and hitting on one another, people getting hurt. I even got whacked in the shoulder by some guy trying to take a haymaker at somebody, and I defended the guy and got in there. You got to, and that's another thing. I will say this though, if the person who's instigating it is just pathetic and scrawny and a big mouth, that goes under the old rule, Sal, of, you're asking for it. You're definitely asking for it, pal. If you continue, I'm just going to be monitoring the situation at a distance. I will not be defending your big mouth.
Oh, exactly. I mean, for me, look, I don't mind if the moms start it, because at least if the moms started, then the husbands aren't going to say, well, or the wives aren't going to jump in and say, well, your husband started it. No, it was the wife. They are the ones that started. So I want to see them go at it with a full-blown cat fight and then let the husbands get in there and start regulating what's going on.
It's just sad that people cannot just go in there and cheer or get a team cheer going in the stands. Get the wave, get a unifying clap or something. But no, we've got to have like you and the other Chicago mobsters in the stands being able to go in there and say, no, this kid, he's lazy over there. Get moving over there. I'm going to get my little nephew Sluggo to come down there and show
Hey,
you
I got
how
a
it's
nephew
done.
named Sluggo. I do. I actually do. My favorite nephew, his name is Sluggo. I'm serious. That's great. That's great.
How
You're
many-
damn right. Sluggo would get them going. Sluggo would get their asses down the line, make sure that they steal bases, do whatever they got to do, and Sluggo would make sure they take one for the team if they had to as well. There's no crying in baseball.
You see somebody that Barry Sanders, I believe, was one of, 10 children. He was in the mix of older brothers and sisters. He had a dad. Now, he had a dad in his Hall of Fame speech. When he's getting inducted, his dad's introducing himself, and his dad says, I'm going to be introducing my son, who is, in my mind, the third greatest running back of all time. He is behind Jim Brown, and I forgot the other guy, but I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know. No matter what allegiances I have to a team, growing up and rooting for something, I couldn't look at my kid, who I've seen, growing up through Pop Warner and through football in high school and college and in the NFL, and get all the way to the Hall of Fame, and somebody who probably, in Barry Sanders, was one of the classiest acts of a player, never spiked the ball, just always knew where the referee was, handed it to him as a gentleman, didn't have bad things to say about himself or his organization, and your dad is going to say, well, the third best running back, in my opinion, is my son. What is that all about, dude? You don't say that.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
That's what I want to hear from the kid. Can you imagine a 7-year-old kid? Hey, bud, what's your problem? He's supposed to be the number one running back. I would think.
And he always will be. Yeah,
exactly.
Always be the
And
best.
even if little Billy really smells, let's just say he's the worst kid out there. Well, Billy, you are the number one in my book. But then again, I can't read. I don't know, man. I mean, look, whether this guy says maybe Walter Payton is, in my book, Walter Payton's the best. I put Barry Sanders up there too. The only problem is Barry Sanders, of course, was running on turf, but that's a whole nother discussion. Anyway, I would certainly put my kid up there. And, I wonder who our guest would put up there. He's going to be coming in the next segment, folks. We have Roy Firestone with us coming in for segment number 2. Be kind of curious as to who he would say is going to be in front of his kid if that were the case. What do you think, Lenny?
In front of his kid, I don't think Roy
I mean, he's
Firestone
interviewed
would put...
5,000 people, for Christ's sakes. I mean,
He
something
certainly
tells me he's probably talked to everybody that matters.
He'd have a good list, I'll tell you that. He could probably validate it.
Exactly. Damn right. Anyway, folks, we're going to be back with Roy Firestone in just a few minutes here at the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come. Here's a partial list of the featured guests that have appeared on the Sports Circus.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Remaster Style here with Bill Clement. We have special guests
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., billionaire Jeff Hoffman,
Mike Golick, Tom Flores,
John Stockton,
David Meltzer, Jim Tunney,
Roger Craig,
Andre Reed,
Mario Andretti,
Herschel Walker,
Roy Firestone,
Eric Dickerson,
Mike Haynes,
Kevin Green, Brian Urlacher, Jim Jeffco,
Rod Jaworski,
Al Bubba Baker,
Steve Carby, Brett Saberhagen,
Jack McDowell,
Danny McClain, Yank Barry, Grant Fuhrer,
Paul Dvorsky,
president of the Vegas Golden Knights, George McPhee,
Len Komoroski, CEO of Cavaliers,
Blake Brady, Mickey Studa,
Art Steele,
Tom Beebe,
Ken Solomon,
Tom Dreesen,
Pat O'Connor,
Alan Glist, 43 Tony Awards,
Mike Crawford, President and CEO of the Hall of Fame,
Louis Viola, president, Paramount Famous Production, Universal Worldwide Home Entertainment, Universal Studios Home Entertainment,
Glenn Berman, Randy Fun,
Professor Dr. Tommy John, Dave Robertson, Pat Williams,
Brandon Schneider,
Henry Bibby,
Mike Bibby,
Tim Donaghy,
Dan Hughes,
Marcus Johnson,
George Lynn,
Larry Sanders, Steve Berlander,
Dr. Jen Welter,
Steve Ladder,
Craig Colquitt,
Paul Shortino,
My life is just a party and
parties weren't meant to last. Dickerson.
Jason Hook, guitar player for Five Finger Death Punch.
Craig Bartok, lead guitar player, songwriter for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band Heart.
Sidney Justin from the Miracles.
My name is Curtis Blow. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. I'm here on the Sports Circus.
Vinny from the Bronx Wanderers.
Mark Schulman, drummer for Pink, Cher, Velvet Revolver, Stevie Nicks, Sheryl Crow, Simple Minds, Richard Mark.
Aaron Fink, Breaking Benjamin.
Jason Hartlett, drummer for rock legend Ted Nugent.
Matt Starr, drummer for Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Rockstar, Todd Kearns.
Phil Buckman, the bass player in the rock band Fuel.
Dave Laurie.
Neil Donnell from the band Chicago.
This is Brad Gillis from the band Night Ranger. And
Philip Bailey, 8-time Grammy Award winner.
The reasons that we're here.
Top 100 greatest drummers of all time.
Kenny Aronoff with John Fogerty, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Dave Grohl, Joe Walsh, John Mellencamp.
John Deddy, drummer for Slayer, Anthrax, Testament, Volbeat.
Mitch Malloy, I'm the lead singer of Great White.
Pete Thorne with Chris Cornell. Melissa Etheridge.
Rob Mount, drums with Lou Graham.
Philip Schaus, I play guitar with Accept. I play bass guitar for Ace Frehley.
Todd Morris from The Offspring.
Ty Dennis, The Doors.
Eric Aldenius, here from Bill Adams.
Red Jones, bass player for Vontae. Steelheart, Fuel. Michael Shaker Group.
This is Josie Scott from Josie Scott's Saliva.
Adam Curry of Candlebox.
Marky Mark with Foundry Rocks.
Brian Trock.
Travis Cormier. Scotty McClellan.
4-time Grammy Award winner.
Chris Christian. Jay Ramsey.
Heidi Merrill.
Vince Van Patten.
Daniel Negreanu.
Greg Fosselman Raymer.
Billy Hayes.
Foz Davis.
CJ Watson.
Rashad Phillips.
Dr. Kristen Willemeyer.
NASA astronauts. Mike Mullane.
Anthony Davis.
George Stark.
Dwayne Starks.
Brian Mitchell.
Rick Upchurch.
Willie Rofe.
Jim Fossil.
Dwayne Clemens.
Eddie Meter. Chase Schrader. Pepper Johnson.
Andre Bad Moon, a.k.a. Rise.
Brian Jordan.
Bill Romanowski.
Dwight Hicks.
Jason McKee.
Michael Keller.
Fred Mitchell.
Marty Appel.
Tim Rando.
Tom Brenneman.
Barry Katz.
Brad Williams. Dennis Blair.
Arthur Sarkisian.
Dean Edwards.
Emmett Short.
Jason Acevedo.
It's Christina Smith.
Bruce Nahan. Lee Haney. Rick Barry. Cowboy Ninja. Lance Pekas.
Andrew Williams.
Don Most here.
Kevin Sorbo here.
Yes.
Dr. Peter McCullough.
Damian Jackson, ex-Navy SEAL.
Margaret Carey. Tinkerbell.
Stephanie Stuckey, CEO of Stuckey's Corporation.
Bruce Lowen, founder, Marijuana Inc., Medical Marijuana Inc., Hemp Inc.
Glenn Gardone, president of Red Chocolate.
Ronnie Nunn.
Belgie Henderson.
Jack Llewellyn, sports psychologist.
Susie Helmaker.
Alexander Bardot Pinto.
Bill O'Brien.
Brad Server, grandson of Curly Howard from the Three Stooges.
Rob Ryder.
Chris Kemper. Aaron Rowan.
Greg Olson.
Art Kushner.
Jose Rio in the house.
Kurt Bavacqua here.
Greg Olson.
Matt Joyce. Jim Lambert.
Mike Hollis.
Brad Coleman.
Burst. Santana Moss.
Vance Johnson.
Donnie Shale. Mark Collins.
Brandy Grimes.
Larry Bubber. Cole.
Larry Foote, defensive coordinator with Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Jared Bunch.
Eddie Burry.
Wesley Woodyard.
Dexter Irvin. Colin Fraser. Andrew Ladd.
Justin Penner.
Dave Jackson, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey.
Brian Killingsworth.
Bart Oates. Don Horn. Ryan McNeil.
Von Kirkland.
Chucky Okobe.
Jackie Sherrill. Eddie Meter.
EJ Speed.
Jesse Wooten.
Dave Merhar.
Steve Todd. Bob Grant.
Dan Pastorini. Mark Fleming. Brad Hopkins.
Lee Steinberg. Dan Vincent.
Mitzi Dolan. Karen Laurie.
Shanae Stiletto.
Bo Campbell.
Glenn Elmore.
Mark Eaton from the Utah Jazz.
Charles Smith. Rich Cho.
Bobby V.
Scott Spezio.
Andy Van Slyke.
Matt Stairs.
Very sure.
Jesse Sapolo. Dana Stubblefield.
Jeff Jager.
Gino Toretta. Jim O'Brien. Kerry Justin. JT Thompson. Jim Everett. John McLaren.
Brad Boone.
Mel Stoudemire.
Alan Massengale.
Leonard Marshall. Gary Reasons.
Doug Plank.
Walt Harris.
Everson Walls.
Jim McNally.
Leroy Irvin.
Icky Wood. Tyrone Poole.
Chris Stuhonker. Bruce Crampton. Butch Baird.
Diamond Jisco.
Mayor Carolyn Goodman.
Nick Mackay, voice of Salem Saberhagen, the talking cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
The father of the first family of drag racing.
John Ford.
Ricky Stenhouse.
Ben Brost, the voice of stock car racing.
Jim Strasser, founder and CEO of Cali Strong, the California Sports Company. CEO of LA Gear, Nike, Oakley, Quicksilver, owner partners at Converse.
John Robinson. Chris Dishman. Gary Robinson.
Steve Sachs.
Ward Brewster. Daryl Evans. Big Theo Ratliff.
Cedric Tony. Ricky Pierce.
Well.
Carl Mecklenburg. Mark Currier.
Toy Cook.
Mercury Morris.
Eric Davis. Thomas Hollywood Henderson.
Dennis Rappaport. Rich Murata.
Joe Cortez.
Mark Cathey. Chris Bird.
Caleb Sweethands Plant.
Bronco Billy Ride. Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal here at Long Beach Lenny. This segment is brought to you by the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Folks, check them out at csncoyotes.com. That's csncoyotes.com. Great baseball, great volleyball, softball, soccer. Check them out again. College of Southern Nevada Athletics at csncoyotes.com. Make sure you tell them the Circus sent you. Also, a big welcome to everybody listening in on iHeartRadio and our NBC Sports affiliates from coast to coast. And Lenny, we are joined by probably one of those guys on the Mount Rushmore of radio and television in the sports interview world. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by Roy Firestone, 7-time Emmy Award winner, 7-time Cable Ace Award-winning host, broadcaster, interviewer, keynote speaker, narrator, actor, writer, producer, stage performer, and there's a lot more. It goes on and on and on. Sports Illustrated calls Roy the best interviewer in the business. The late Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Jim Murray once said, Roy Firestone isn't just the best interviewer I've ever seen. He's also the best interviewer, period. That includes Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters, Mike Wallace, Maury Safer, and a whole bunch more. And not limited to television either. Firestone is also a prolific on the printed page as well. This guy can write. He's got a couple of best-selling books. He's working on something else, which we'll let him get into. Roy Firestone, welcome to the Sports Circus.
Sal, Lenny, how you guys doing?
Oh, man, we're doing. We were just having a fun conversation about Little League and how parents, the helicopter parents tend to meddle in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, mercy. I mean, I guess the funny part about it was I was the guy that I don't even have a kid on the field, and I'm already yelling at the kid just walking up to a random park.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of that going on. In fact, there actually have been increased incidents of physical altercations at Little League games. I mean, I don't know if you knew that, but in many situations, police have to have been called in. They've had to suspend parents from ever attending high school games. I should say not high school, Little League games, maybe high school too. Little League games, we see it more and more because I happen to think there's a reason for it. It's the ginned up, fire that, these kids are entitled to be all champions and they're all going to be NFL players, they're Major League Baseball players, and these parents are so heavily invested in, their scouting and their travel teams and things like that. That I find that a lot of parents, particularly parents who have, I think, their own issues, in my opinion, kind of act out. Their disappointment, they're frustrated, their lives maybe not as complete as they perhaps should be, so they manifest it through the fiery rhetoric when their kid doesn't get the right call, or not. It's beyond rhetoric, behavior. We see that all the time, and we've seen it increasing all throughout this country. And, there have been situations where Little League umpires have been physically assaulted by parents. So it's an unfortunate situation, but it is something that is definitely there.
Yeah, I would agree. And just going to games, watching them randomly, I mean, this is really, just like Lenny said earlier in the first segment, this is really baseball in its most pure form. And those kids really don't know what's ahead of them. And I remember as a Little Leaguer myself, right. I had no clue what that road looked like, and bouncing in and out of a system. Look, it was so much fun back then, and it gets so political every time you go up this ladder just from another grade or from grade school to middle school nowadays to high school and beyond. It's just so ridiculous. And I know, Lenny, you have a son that plays baseball, and I'm sure that you have experienced that as well, haven't you, as a parent?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I always try, Roy, as the entrepreneur of the Sports Circus, I always try to figure an angle of making money, and I thought of maybe selling, instead of refreshments, with those refreshments, have some grown-up chewable vitamins, because these parents need to grow up on the in the stand.
Well, how about maybe some chewable Prozac, too, or lithium, for that matter? We should have beverages with lithium in it, for crying out loud.
Right.
It's become, because the thing is, and then it graduates from Little League to junior high school and high school, on high school level, where these kids are, some of these kids on high school teams, and this is only slightly distantly related, but it's true, some of these kids are 400 pounds. I saw a kid in high school, and these these regimens and these obsessions by both the parents and the coaching staffs to turn them into these NFL-ready players, I think it also increases injuries. It's a different subject entirely, but it starts with behavior at the Little League, with a sense of entitlement, the sense that somehow there's going to be a foundation for these kids to be some sort of get a pipeline into the pros or even college. And you're seeing behavior, people acting out, bad behavior, bullying, name-calling. You see it over and over again. But it starts at the lowest levels, from the PD levels, maybe not so much, but when it gets to Little League levels, and then to junior high school and high school, of course it goes on in college too. So, it's different than what it was, say, 25, 30 years ago when I was growing up. My kids were playing in the Little League, and they were both fine Little League players. We didn't have that many issues, but we hear more and more of it happening now.
Roy, imagine yourself interviewing the umpire for one of these rogue games. I mean, you've interviewed everybody pretty much, right? But imagine going down to the most basic level and getting an honest-to-goodness and them not even knowing who you are. Let's just say you show up in Middle America. They've been living under a rock. For some reason, they don't know who you are, but you just have a regular good interview with them. What would you be asking that umpire?
Well, if they're concerned about the level of inappropriate behavior on the part of parents. And also, I might add, kids also play into it, and they buy into it, too. So if their parents are jerks, there's a chance the kid will be a jerk, unfortunately. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, whatever you want to say. But we see it more and more. I talk to the umpire about, what have you seen? What has it been like? Now, I'm not saying every Little League that we see has this behavior, but it's enough where it's disturbing, and it's certainly enough that it needs to be curtailed. So I would ask these umpires, what solutions? What could be some remedies for some of this bad behavior? Would you have to ban parents? Would you have to ban kids from participating if their parents act like jerks? But we do see it. We definitely see it.
Exactly. Folks, we are here on the Sports Circus with legendary sports and award-winning broadcaster. That would be Roy Firestone. Roy, you have done so many different types of impressions, but here's something off-road for you. Who right now, somebody that you haven't mastered, that you really would love to have in your back pocket right now to just have that perfected, that impression? Who would you want that to be?
Well, one of the guys I'm working on is Ben Scully. Oh, what a marvelous story. The Dodgers 3, the St. Louis Cardinals 1, and a beautiful day and a beautiful azure skies in Dodger State. Now, it's not quite there, so I'm working on that. But, of course, Vin is not doing the Dodgers anymore, so I may be a little late on that one. But Costas does a great Vin Scully. I don't know, maybe a LeBron James, which I don't have down yet at all, but it's kind of hard in terms of finding something distinctive about his voice. I used to do impressions of announcers, everybody from Keith Jackson to Howard Cosell. I obviously do a whole bit in my corporate show about Mike Tyson and his voice. That was an easy, imitatable voice.
Give us a little Mike Tyson.
I don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I was a very active boxer. I fought a lot of fighters. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys. I don't understand. A lot of people have a very diminished view of me as a boxer because I bit somebody's ear off. I don't understand that. Why should that be?
I'll tell you a quick story, and it's a true story. You'll get a kick out of this story. You remember the Tyson Spinks fight in Atlantic City about 24 or 5 years ago. That's that far back, maybe a little less, a little more, I don't know. I was at that fight, and, before the opening bell, I'm at ringside, and I can see Mike Tyson lean over to Michael Spinks and say, right before the opening bell, as the instructions were given out by the referee, he leans over to Spinks and he goes,
"Tonight I'm going to beat the crap out of you."
And Spinks looked back and said, "Yeah, no, So the fight goes off. The fight goes off. It lasts a total of 91 seconds. 91 seconds. The fight's over. Tyson knocks out Spinks with one or two punches. He's running out of the ring, and I see this, and I'm running to the press room because I want to get to the press room in time to have a good seat, front row or something. So I'm on a jog. As I'm jogging, I hear a commotion behind me. I turn around, and it is Mike Tyson with 6 of his handlers behind me. I couldn't believe it. And before I could say anything, Tyson sees me, and he goes, "Hey, Roy, believe it, right? I said, Mike, congratulations on beating State. He goes, no, don't worry about that. I want to tell you something. I was watching your show last week, just like I'm at a freaking mall or something, right? So I'm sitting there. I'm standing there. It's done. And he's talking to me like we're just in the hallway, like nothing happened just 40 seconds before when he destroyed Michael Spink. He says, I saw this show with your father. You had your father on. He knew a lot about boxing. I was very impressed. Will you give him my very best? This is true story. Now, this is like seconds after he knocks out Spink. Now, I'm trying to figure out what to do because my father hated Mike Tyson. He hated everything about him, everything he represented. So I call on the payphone to my father, true story, and I said, Dad, I'm at the Mike Spink fight. My father starts in right away. Let me tell you something about Mike Tyson. That bum should be in prison. I said, Dad, hold on for a second. You're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. He just said he saw the show you were on with me about boxing the week before the fight, and he thought you were terrific, and you knew a lot about boxing, and you have to be one of his favorite guests he's ever seen on my show, and you were giving your very best. My father, who hated Tyson, long pause, he goes, well, let me tell you something. He's still a great warrior and one of the greatest champions we've ever had. So as you can imagine, it was kind of a funny experience for me.
All right, folks, we'll be back with Roy Firestone in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
All right, this segment is brought to you by Cali Vegas, helping people just like you create and host your very own TV, multimedia, or radio talk show. Cali Vegas can help you with everything you need to get out of sitting in hours of traffic every day and host your very own talk show in your very own studio. Call Cali Vegas right now at
213-999-7490. That's 213-999-7490. Again, 213-999-7490, 213-999-7490.
Also, a big welcome to everybody listening in on iHeartRadio, including our friends over on the NBC Sports affiliates as well, all the way in Honolulu on NBC Sports 1500, KHKA in sunny Southern California, KCAA, our NBC News, CNBC Financial, and NBC Sports affiliate, 106.5 FM, 102.3 FM, and 1050 AM right here in Las Vegas, KSHP 1400, home of your Arizona Diamondbacks. In Chicago, WCGO 1590, our Westwood One News affiliate, and covering Western New York on the New York Yankees radio network, WLVL 1340 and 105.3 FM, covering the Buffalo and Greater Toronto markets. And Lenny, who are we forgetting?
In the far reaches of the galaxy, that would be the Mars rover, waiting for your call.
Nice. All right, and folks, we're back here with Roy Firestone, 7-time Emmy Award winner, 7-time Cable Ace award-winning host, broadcaster, entertainer, musician. The man can sing, and I want to know a little bit more about the singing, because, Roy, man, you've got some pipes on you. I've watched all the videos. I have not been to your live shows, but I want to know more about that.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. People, listen, I'm not the greatest singer by any means. There's millions of great singers, but I like to think that when I do my live show, and I do it for corporations and all kinds of colleges and conventions and things like that, I mix in a little music. We do some musical salutes in sports. I do a parody of Billy Joel's "We Didn't Light the Fire" called "Sports Lights the Fire." We do 50 years of sports in 3 minutes. I also do ballads. I also do serious songs and tributes to some of the legends. I do a lot of vocal impressions. But the album you're referring to is an album called Another Voice. And by the way, if anyone wants to hear me sing or dares to think that maybe it might be a bad experience, by all means go on YouTube and type in the word Another Voice, Roy Firestone. Another Voice, Roy Firestone. And you can hear and see a promo of my singing. It was produced by a band called Hiroshima, which is a very famous fusion jazz band. They've been around a long time. They've been nominated for Grammys, and I was honored enough to be produced by Dan Kuramoto, and we've been able to, have this CD from around the country. People have been purchasing it. I'm thrilled to do it. It's been a dream come true for me. People know me as the sports guy. They don't know that I have a musical background. I also write music and produce music. And I've been doing a sports variety show, as it were, for the better part of 25 years, 30 years. And so I've been doing this a long time, but I really don't get a chance to talk too much about my musical chops, or for what it's worth. Even Josh Groban, the great classical singer, who was in one of my audiences, said he was kind of blown away by it. He couldn't believe it. So I'm very honored, gratified, and humbled by the opportunity just to be able to sing professionally. And again, if people are interested in taking a look at it, just go to the words Another Voice, Roy Firestone on YouTube, or you can visit my website at royfirestone.com, and there's a lot of examples of my musical desires, and hopefully people will be entertained by that.
Excellent. Hey, how about giving us a little sample? Can you
sing
sing
a
for us?
cappella? It's a little harder.
Absolutely. Come on, Roy.
Well, I of course I do a lot of singing impressions. I can do. Let me give you a little Johnny Mathis. Look at me, I'm as helpless as the kitten up a tree, never knowing my left foot from my right, my heart from my glove. I get to see I'm too much in love. There's Johnny Mathis there for you. And I also do Tony Bennett. Let's see. Because of you, my heart found romance. Because of you. Anyway, you got the idea. Right. But I do in my own voice a lot of different impressions. And I enjoy, like everyone from Smokey Robinson, ooh, baby, baby.
You know what?
That's a little bit of Smokey there for you.
Hey, listen
But I've
to
been
this
doing
real.
that for a long time.
Right, listen to this. So it's funny you do a little Smokey because some friends of the Sports Circus are Sid Justin and Carrie Justin, which, of course, Sid took over the mic from Smokey about 23 years ago for the Miracles. And we had those guys on the show right around Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
The previous year. And those guys are, obviously, they're very, very good at what they do. But friends of the circus. So I'm glad you gave a little tribute to the Miracles. That's fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Smokey, because I was it's tough to do it over the phone. But, you have equipment up on the stage and stuff. But I do "Ooh Baby Baby" in my live show, just about a minute, a few bars of it. One time I had laryngitis in Los Angeles, and I had to perform the next day in Vegas. And I go to a throat doctor that's been very, very famous throat doctor in Los Angeles, treated everybody from, Elton John to Neil Diamond. There's gold records all throughout the office. And I walk in there, and Smokey Robinson is there. And I've known Smokey a long time. I consider him a friend. And he could barely talk. He goes, "Hey, Roy. I said, "Hey, Smokey, what's wrong with you?" And my voice was bad, too. He goes, "I heard you do an impression of me. Can you do me tomorrow in Las Vegas at about 8 o'clock tomorrow night?" That was so funny. So Smokey and I have become friends over the years, and he knows I do it. And in terms of Mathis, Johnny Mathis did our show. He's a huge golfer and a big sports fan. And he heard that I did an impression, and I was worried that he was going to be offended. He loved the impression. So, I do about 6 or 7 famous singers in my show, but mostly my show has to do with sports. And it's a little departure, and then I get to sing in my own voice multiple times. And again, if people want to see it, just go on YouTube, either go to Another Voice or Roy Firestone's Promo 2016. That's a promo of all the things I do in my live show. And they can see the variety of my entertainment part of my career, which is now, as I said, nearly 30 years now.
Excellent. So what I'd like to go right now, I want to go ahead and throw you a curveball here, Roy. How about let's just make it simple, like 3, 2, 1. That's all you got to remember on this. I'm going to give you 60 extra minutes to your life. 1 hour, Roy, but you can only use it to go ahead and break up for legendary interviews. Now, you could use it for 3 20-minute segments with 3 different people, 2 30-minute segments, or 1 full hour of someone that you've interviewed or multiple people that you said, "Doggone it, I just wish I had more time." Who are you going to get there, Mr. Firestone?
Well, on a lot of levels, and I really mean this, on a lot of levels, I could say that about a ton of people. I did a 3.5 hour, I'm not kidding you when I say this, 3.5 hour interview with the legendary rocker Todd Rundgren, who had Hello, It's Me, and I Saw the Light, and banged the drum all day, and plays with Ringo, and he's produced dozens and dozens of legendary acts. He's going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. So I did a 3.5 hour interview with him, and it wasn't long enough. We had so many questions we couldn't ask. This morning, I did an interview with the comedian Robert Klein, very famous, legendary comedian, one of the best ever. And we did an hour and a half nonstop, and we ran out of time. So the answer is pretty much a ton of people. But I'll give you a couple of people I wish I had on for. I wish I could have had longer amount of time with Jim Valvano. And Jim passed away, as we all know, the legendary coach, because he was such an engaging guy, such a compelling guy, and a storyteller, and a raconteur, and a person who had a take on life that was unique and funny and entertaining and also inspiring. He would be one. I would say that Wilt Chamberlain, and again, there's interview with Wilt Chamberlain is on YouTube that I did as well. We did a solid nonstop 40 minutes. It's on YouTube, and I ran out of time there. Funny story about Wilt. The first time I met Wilt Chamberlain, I'm coming out of a restaurant in Santa Monica, California, and it's a $300,000 white Rolls-Royce convertible pulled up to the curb. In the back seat are 2 dogs as big as horses, and there was Wilt in the front seat, and I'm not making this up. He's 7'2". He's 340 pounds. He's wearing a silver and purple silk jumpsuit with a burgundy bandana, lemon line wraparound sunglasses. He's got African walking stick, no shoes, propped up against the steering wheel. I had never met him before. So I walk up to Wilt on the driver's side of this car, this magnificent car. And he's got, leopard skin pants, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I said, Wilt Chamberlain, you're 7'2", 345 pounds. You're dressed like this. I would love to have you come on the show sometime. And he looked at me and he said, Roy, I would love to come on the show, but right now you have to understand I'm trying to keep a low profile. So that was that experience there. It was something else.
Excellent.
Okay, we got a minute left.
I knew for sure. I had it in my back pocket. He's going to say Wilt. I know that he's going to say Wilt on this one.
Oh yeah, Wilt was something. Now you never could get enough of Wilt, in my opinion.
Yeah, he always had something engaging to say. He was, and you probably had a lot of questions on him too, as far as like, hey, I really appreciate that interview, and just so many that you've had, Roy, that we have appreciated over the decades of enjoyment. Thank God for YouTube, folks, that we can go ahead and we can dial in on Roy Firestone. We're coming up to a break right now. You're listening to the Sports Circus. We got more mayhem and madness and questionings galore. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a few short commercial messages.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196. Paid for by Legal Alert Line. Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Okay, folks. Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, here at Long Beach Lenny and Roy Firestone. This segment is brought to you by the American Business Trust Company, helping your company with business strategy, sales and marketing, capital resources, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. The American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. Give them a call at 657-600-1876, 657-600-1876. Again, 657-600-1876, or visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com at trustco.com, and tell them the Circus sent you. Also, a big welcome to everybody listening in on iHeartRadio and our NBC Sports affiliates from coast to coast. And, folks, we're continuing here with Roy Firestone, 7-time Emmy Award winner, 7-time Cable Ace Award winner, and a million other accomplishments from broadcaster to comedian to musician. And he's also an author. Oh, by the way, he's a great actor, too. But he is an author. And, Roy, you've written a couple of bestsellers, haven't you?
Yeah, one of them is called Up Close, which makes sense because the show is called Up Close. The second one is called Don't Make Me Cry, Roy. And the third one is coming out next year, and it is going to be called That's What I'm Talking About, which I'm pretty much talking about everything from pop culture to sports to music to interviews that I've done, and it's going to be a lot of fun, too. And, again, if people want to see some of what I've done and want to read the books, they only need to go to royfirestone.com. You can purchase the book. We also donate money to charities, including hurricane relief. And if you'd like to purchase the book, you can do it right there at royfirestone.com.
All right. So, Roy, you have a new book coming out soon, don't you?
Yeah, that would be the one that's coming out next, probably February or March, and it's called That's What I'm Talking About.
Okay.
As I said, the first two books were Up Close, and the second book was a book called Don't Make Me Cry, Roy. I'll tell you a quick story about Don't Make Me Cry, Roy. It comes from the movie Jerry Maguire. And when I went to Liverpool, England in 1999, I was at a reception, and I was talking to some people, and behind me was Paul McCartney. Now, he didn't know my name, so I'm not going to say he knew my name because he didn't. But he recognized my face, and he goes, I know you from somewhere. And I said, no, you don't, Paul. I've never met you before. He goes, no, I have. I said, no, you haven't. He goes, yes, I have. You're the guy that makes him cry. And I said, how would you know that? And he goes, I saw the movie. I saw Jerry Maguire. I said, Jerry Maguire? And then I realized he saw the movie a million times because they placed his music in the movie Jerry Maguire. So then he finally said to me, what's your name? And I said, my name is Roy. He goes, don't make me cry, Roy. And that's a true story. So that's the name of my second book, Don't Make Me Cry, Roy. And again, They're funny stories, they're inspiring stories, they're poignant stories. And if people want to purchase it, just go to royfirestone.com, and you'll see media, and you click it on, and you can purchase the book right there online.
All right, Roy, here's a good one for you. Good question, curveball. What about sports movies lines? Greatest sports movie lines of all time. I'm going to go first, my friend. I'm going to take The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds when Caretaker tells Paul Crewe, you just throw that football through that tire. It's just like making love. Once you've done it, you never forget how.
Well, I think there's a bunch of sports lines, but I'll tell you, this is going to surprise you. Everybody says if you build it, they will come. Field of Dreams is my favorite line, or one of their favorite lines, people, especially baseball fans. But you know what? I'm going to surprise you. The most touching line that I've ever seen in American cinema, in my opinion, is from a sports movie. It was from a movie called Brian's Song, which was with Billy D. Williams and James Caan, about the story of Gale Sayers, and Brian Piccolo was his teammate who was dying of cancer. And Gale Sayers' character was played by Billy D. Williams, goes to a speech, and he wins the Most Valuable Player Award, and he gets emotional, and it's in the movie, and he looks up, and he says, you flatter me with this award, but this is not mine. This is to my teammate, Brian Piccolo, who is fighting for his life. And then he said, I love Brian Piccolo, and I want you to love him tonight, too. And I still, even just now saying those words, got moved and affected by it. I think, in some respects, that line was the one that resonated most to me. Was a script writer by the name of Bill Blinn who wrote that. He also wrote several other movies. But it's a line that I think we need more than ever before in our country, for people to love each other and to love each other regardless of differences in ethnicity, differences in ideology. We need to find a way to love each other again. And I think that line, and people can look at that clip too on YouTube. Just say, "I love Brian Piccolo," and if you click on that scene, and you'll be moved. You'll be moved to tears. That's my all-time favorite sports line.
All right, my all-time favorite sports line comes from, well, Lenny, you know that I'm not really the biggest fan of the University of Notre Dame. You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. I went to an undergrad that is a rival of Notre Dame. I went to Purdue for undergrad, and unfortunately, it was just a hop, skip, and a jump up the road. And so for me, ironically, my favorite line comes out of the movie Rudy. It's real simple.
Yep.
As we get towards the end of the show or the end of the movie, what does the coach say? "No excuses, do the work." That is my favorite line, and I use it all the time.
Yeah.
You remember when they're going onto the
point.
field? Right. He grabs and he grabs the one player by the face mask and yells that in his face, and everybody's in a huddle around the coach. It was when they're in the locker room. No excuses, do the work. There's nothing better, in my opinion, than that, because that says, all right, I don't want to hear you crying. There's no crying towels. You get out there, get your ass moving, and get it done. That's it.
That's true. That was a great movie, too. Sean Astin played Rudy. And, of course, I've met the real Rudy several times. He speaks, too, on the speaking engagement tour. He's one of the most compelling speakers I've seen, and he does a great show. And, I also seen Lou Holtz and a lot of Notre Dame figures, but you're right about that. That was a great movie, and that was a great line.
That's a great line. So, hey, let me ask you real quick. Out of the books and the keynote speaking, you have so much going on, Roy. Is there anything that you want to make sure that you tell the audience a little bit extra about? Because, we're going to keep the podcast of the show, of course, on thesportscircus.com. Hell, we get 3 million hits a month on that website. But I want you to get that out there to everybody.
Great. Well, just that I love doing what I do, and I get a chance to do it all over the country. I do it for performing arts centers. It's called, Up Close, One-Man Show Live. And I talk about things that happened to me in my career, funny stories, touching stories. And one of the cool things that I do want to tell you is, you may remember the story of an autistic kid who played basketball in Rochester, New York, a kid named Jason McElwain. And they called him J-Mac. That was his nickname. You may have heard the story. He was a team manager, never got a chance to play very much. And one opportunity on his final game of the season, the coach let him play. He was never even a member of the varsity.
Right.
Do you know that this autistic kid who could barely look people in the eye hit 8 consecutive three-pointers? Well, I tell that story in my show, and one night he was in the audience unbeknownst to me. He sought me out. We met. He invited me to come to Rochester, New York, to talk about that moment when he was celebrating his 10-year anniversary of that night, and we've become friends. And I've been doing that piece all over America for at least 12 years. And to meet him in person was a really, really cool thing. And I enjoyed meeting him and telling his story. And I do think that one thing that I do want to leave people with, and that is that sports, for as entertaining as it can be and as exhausting as it can be, as frustrating as it can be for fans, and exhilarating as it can be, can also move people and inspire people and make people feel something that maybe other things in life cannot. Beyond politics, beyond our differences, sports is the ultimate great metaphor for life. And I think that there's a lot of stories to be told, and I like telling them. So in answer to your question, that would be something I'd like everyone to be left with, and that's something I want to do more of. I've been doing it for many, many years, and if people, again, want to see what I do, they should just go to royfirestone.com, and they can see it. And I think I'm getting a wrap here, so it's time for me to go.
Roy, always a pleasure having you on. We certainly want you back here on the Sports Circus. Yeah, geez, anytime, buddy. Especially when that book comes out. Make sure you come back and see us.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you, Lenny. It was great to see you both of you. Take care now.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Roy Firestone. Make sure you check him out at royfirestone.com. Too much to say about him in the last 20 seconds here. So for Long Beach Lenny and for Roy Firestone, I'm your ringmaster, Sal, and we'll see you next time here on the Sports Circus. So long, everyone. Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-253-6831. 800-253-6831. 800-253-6831. That's 800-253-6831.